life begins and ends and begins again. Nature's perfect circle giving back to the earth everything it takes. Earth perpetuating life, and life a full symbolic cycle. Technology completely destroys the earth.
The study of the universe spans almost inconceivable extremes of size and distance and time.
Now estimated that the cost of cleaning up the Alaska oil spill will be in excess of $1 billion.
Oh, terrific.
The city's air quality index reached 55 today. This level is rated as poor air quality. Those people with respiratory conditions will be affected.
He shoots, he scores!
And now this week's Environment Watch, the series that examines industries'
gears, wheels, and shaft ends.
So that's how you're going to deal with it, is it? Dave, you can't just turn the problem off.
Me?
Yes, you. You broke the cycle. You turned something into garbage when it could have been recycled.
Huh?
That can you just threw out is headed for a dump site to take up space that we can't afford anymore.
I don't believe this.
You take a natural resource and you turn it into something useful to you, and then you turn it into garbage. Or worse yet, you turn it into something that eats away at our environment.
What?
That's a dead end, Dave.
Stations are being introduced in our mining and milling industries. They gather, transport, and...
Just like everybody else. So you probably already knew everything my industry report had to say.
Well, I know those guys are the ones polluting, not me. I mean, the damage I do is nothing compared to what they do.
Oh, really? Well, take a look at this. This may surprise you, David, but the soap and detergent industry is tackling the problem, not only by ensuring that the end product is less polluting, but also by revamping and refining manufacturing processes to recover and reuse waste while reducing byproduct pollution at the same time.
Regulations concerning clothing. You should not wear loose clothing, tuck in pant legs, or use leg bands. Tuck in shirt tails and button cuffs. Remove watches, rings, and other jewelry. If your hair is long, make sure it is contained under your safety hat or held in place by a net. Wear your safety hat and safety glasses. Where unguarded conveyors with walkways are in operation.
Which sludge. This wet sludge is then pumped under high pressure into a spray tower. Hot air flowing up the spray tower dries the slurry droplets down to form a powder.
Guardrails are an important part of equipment guarding, particularly on high places or where there is narrow or treacherous footing. The man working on this stacker is in a dangerous situation.
A certain amount of dry scrap powder is generated from general cleanup around the plant and rejected material from the packing operation. This dry scrap is re-slurried.
Like a great wind, the radiant energy of starlight drives these clouds of dust and gas throughout the galaxy. Out of these clouds evolve new generations of stars.
Workers should be totally isolated from the work being performed.
Computer map sphere of hot, seething gases and surges of radiation.
These steps are necessary because unauthorized removal of equipment guards and failure to lock out electrical switches have caused serious accidents. Even if the repair will take only a few minutes, these safety procedures must be followed because it takes only a moment to have an accident. Always remember to replace the guard when the work is completed. Injury-related accidents on machines.
Concentrate is fed in at one end of the
Intense magnetic fields appear on the surface, disappear in a few hours, or grow and persist for months in a mysterious 11-year cycle. The sun rotates once in 27 days. Because its equatorial regions rotate faster than the polar caps, the shearing action in the gas contorts the magnetic field into tangled structures.
At the retail level, the consumer can see that
Shaped by these magnetic fields,
Never assume or take for granted that a guard will automatically protect you at all times. Loose or
raw material.
Superwood is...
Solar disk are coronal holes which may provide new clues to the sun's interior
packagers, consumer products,
and may be a source of the solar wind that blows
feedstock
outward to the
for
farthest planets.
work very well. Packages that are now using plastic packaging.
On Earth,
They'll make it into
effects of
products
these
like
solar
this.
events solar system. Miles from the sun is Earth. Its great oceans form.
David, you can be a dead end, or you can be the connecting piece that holds this whole cycle together.
Yeah, guess you're right.
One small step towards a full cycle. Less garbage piled up, fewer natural resources.
It's the Ashley stain resistant.
Wait a minute.
And when you what are you going to do about air pollution?
Hey, that's a job for the government, man.
Woohoo! You are the government, man.
Hey, you're using scare tactics now.
Are they working?
Yes. No. Maybe.
All right, David.
But seriously, what can I do? What can we do?
In other words, do it, or merely to show how many times you can do it, or
The next largest of the gas planets is Saturn, girded by rings which, as we approach them, resolve into countless particles of frozen debris and ice, each a tiny moon orbiting the massive planet. And as we continue past the frozen worlds of Uranus and Neptune, we arrive at the outermost planet in the solar system. dim twilight of unimaginable cold. To travel beyond the solar system to the nearest star would require a journey but all bound by gravity and all revolving around the central core of our galaxy, the Milky Way. Drifting between the stars are
Life
vast clouds of
begins.
gas and dust,
And ends.
the nebulae,
And begins again.
made luminous by the radiation of
Nature's
stars
perfect
within or
circle,
near them,
giving back to the earth everything it takes,
or darkly obscuring.
perpetuating life. And
Here, new stars are being born. About a half-century ago, our galaxy was thought to be alone in the universe. We now know it to be one of a local group of about 20 galaxies. And strewn through the vast reaches of space are more than 10 billion galaxies, grouped in clusters as far as our most sensitive instruments can reach. Little is known about the evolution of galaxies and why some are formless or irregular, others elliptical, and still others spiral-shaped. And we know as little about the galactic core
up with its commitment to the environment. It has been nearly 20 years since Lever Brothers voluntarily led the reducing the phosphate level in
become more perplexing by the discovery that some galaxies are in a state of extreme disarray, exploding, ejecting gaseous matter, or interacting with other galaxies. Even more puzzling are
You broke the cycle. You
emitting as much energy every second as the sun radiates in some
just throughout is headed for a dump site to take up space that we can't afford anymore.
I don't believe this.
You take a natural resource and you turn it into something useful to you.
Science.
The damage I do is nothing compared to what they do.
Oh, really? Well, take a look at this. This may surprise you, David, but the soap and detergent industry is
collapses. But compression raises the temperature in the core, and helium ash rekindles the nuclear fires. Vast amounts of energy are released and lift the outer zones against the force of gravity. The star is now a red giant. In the final stage of its evolution, it is the mass of a star that determines its fate. The Sun, a medium-sized star, remains stable for approximately 10 billion years. Then it will expand to 400 times its present diameter. It will engulf the inner planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, and create a nebula extending past the outer planets.
Detergent raw material.
After millions of years, its reserves of nuclear, its outer layers will have dissipated, and only a white dwarf star remains, no larger than the Earth, slowly cooling to zero temperature, its life as a black stellar corpse.
And have spanned the 93 million miles that separate the Earth from the Sun. We continue on, passing Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and at 5:31, we reach Pluto, the last sentinel outpost of our... And remember, we have traveled 3,675,000,000 miles, and it's still January 1st. But wait a minute. Our journey was to the nearest star, not to the limits of the solar system. We haven't even started our trip yet, for we must continue to travel as the...
Rapidly, generating radio signals in its strong magnetic field. And a radiation beam sweeping past the Earth is observed as a pulse. The star is known as a pulsar. An even stranger end is predicted for very massive stars. According to the
manufacturing facility, it is here that we take the surface active ingredients or detergents that are produced in the sulfonation process and mix them with other organic and
make over 7 grams of garbage a year.
The evolving universe itself must come to an end. If it continues to expand indefinitely, the light of every star will in time be extinguished, and the galaxies will disappear into infinite darkness. But if gravity halts the expansion,
Your contribution to the environment, Dave?
Hey, man, that's not my fault. I mean, what am I supposed to do about it?
Think about it, Dave.
And at last, we had an explanation for the Milky Way. Our galactic system is very similar to the Andromeda Galaxy.
finally,
This is an example.
Something like this.
from which it emerged.
The Milky Way is merely our of our own galaxy. But ours is just one galaxy. Everywhere we look out,
All things on Earth, living and inert,
how many stars are there?
the elements forged in some distant...
Astronomers tell us that there are at least 100
And
billion.
reused wherever possible. For example, in this reactor vessel, we're continuously distilling off fatty acids and water. The fatty acids and water are condensed by...
form living cells. Since the discovery of complex molecules in the chill vacuum of
Million times 1,000 million.
among the countless galaxies in the universe, there are stars orbited by planets favorable for the evolution of intelligent life. Is space travel,
Grasp the meaning of such a number.
time and distance may be insurmountable barriers.
Think for a moment how many grains of sand there are. Sir James Jeans tells us the total number of the stars in the universe is probably something like the total number of the grains of sand on all the seashores of all the world. Do you feel pretty small? Well, I guess that's the natural reaction. After looking at the immensity of God's universe, man seems just too small and insignificant for God to care anything about. But there are other things to consider. For example, God says, consider the lilies of the field, how they grow.
A more practical strategy in the search for extraterrestrial life is to tune in on
the process used to produce bottles used in our liquids manufacture. Uncolored plastic material and color concentrate is fed in at one end of the extruder barrel and mixed thoroughly. It is then fed along down through the extruder to the opposite end where it is heated, and under pressure and temperature it is extruded into a tube of material. This tube of material is then
that moment will signal a change in the human condition that we cannot foresee or imagine.
In the farmer's fields or along the highway. Remember...
Gang. On the base of this bottle, we have a plastic recycling logo. This logo is used to identify the type of plastic used in the manufacture of the bottle. At the
into
retail...
less than half a minute. On the morning of the first day, the poppies pop open, and late in the afternoon, they close. The next morning, they open again. You see, 2 full days have gone by. The third morning, they open, and at night, they close. Then the fourth morning, they wither and die. There are many wonderful things happening about us each day that we miss simply because they happen too slowly for us to see.
Edwin Hubble had opened a window to a cosmos inconceivable and filled with countless galaxies, richly diverse in their sizes and shapes. Elegant spirals, similar to the Milky Way, were discovered throughout the heavens. The graceful arms of these flat galactic pinwheels are formed of gas, dust, and billions of stars.
Victorian, there's no wind there. The leaves, you see, grow first on one side and then on the other, giving them this swaying motion. There's a lot of force involved in the growing of living things.
Are oblong in shape. While smaller, irregular galaxies take on a variety of eccentric forms. About 2% of all known galaxies are classified as irregular. Many of them are satellites of more massive spirals and
Their packaging.
Once thought to be evenly distributed throughout the universe,
Study of the universe spans almost inconceivable extremes of size and distance and time. From the vast island of stars we call a galaxy to the tiny atom and the particles that comprise it.
Constellation Coma Berenices will block from view. Important clues to understanding the overall structure of the entire universe
Courtly manner of yesterday as it opens with a curtsy. Plants don't grow all the time. They grow a while and then they rest.
A remarkable tool of observation revolutionizes their
growth, then a period of rest, then a period of growth, and a period of rest. Our attention has been focused upon the beauty of the plant. But there's something far more vital than beauty. For plants manufactured directly or indirectly, every bit of exposed to sunlight, the mysterious and wonderful process of photosynthesis carries on. This process is perhaps the most basic and vital in all the world. Without these marvelous food factories, life could not exist upon the earth. But let's look down inside the minute cells of the factory actually in operation. It takes a powerful microscope to study this life-sustaining function.
Are only part of a broad spectrum of radiation, most of which is blocked by the atmosphere. So electronic instruments are lifted above this murky and turbulent layer.
Marching endlessly round and round inside the cells.
By balloons.
Through the action of sunlight, this photosynthetic process takes the carbon from the carbon dioxide of the air and the hydrogen from the water of the ground, mixing them together into carbohydrates, protein, and other food elements in a way which man has never quite been able to understand and may never be able to duplicate.
And open new windows on the universe.
Photosynthesis certainly is vital to us, but there wouldn't be any photosynthesis. There would be neither food nor life upon this earth if it weren't for pollination. With the reawakening of life in the spring, the landscape is splashed with riotous color. But this beauty isn't just for our pleasure. Something more vital is involved.
In the beginning, all the matter of the universe was contained in a primordial atom, an unimaginable concentration of elementary particles. In one gigantic detonation, the contents of this cosmic fireball were hurled outward in all directions. After a million...
Without this process, we would have blossoms, but no fruit on our trees. No fruit means no seeds, and in time, no more trees. The insect crawls over the flower in search of nectar, and minute hairs on his legs and body pick up the pollen grains. Thus they are transported to the sticky, stigmatic surface of a neighboring flower. Here, these minute pollen grains germinate. The photomicrographic lapse time camera permits us to actually witness this thrilling process of germination.
Come on.
The report says acid rain has caused damage to American forests, lakes, or crop. It is now estimated that the cost of cleaning up the Alaska oil spill will be in excess of $1 billion.
Oh, terrific.
The city's air quality index reached 55 today. This level is rated as poor air quality. Those people with respiratory conditions will be affected.
He shoots, he scores!
And now this week's Environment Watch, the series that examines industry's response to the environment. In the spotlight this week, the detergent industry. Is it keeping up with its commitment to the environment? It has been nearly 20 years.
Clouds evolved new generations of stars. More than half the stars in our galaxy travel in groups of 2 or more, orbiting around a common center of gravity.
Loop is an important...
Comets.
At least 1,500 galaxies, many only 1/4 billionth bright as the dim the human eye can see, were revealed in a single breathtaking panorama. Within a pinpoint of sky, the size of the area blocked by a grain of sand held at arm's length, the scope of galactic diversity and distribution was showcased as never before. At the very limits of the known universe, the Hubble telescope has photographed small, extremely bright galaxies that release incredible amounts of radiation. Quasi-stellar radio sources, or quasars. These distant objects, some 1,000 times brighter than the Milky Way, emit as much energy every second as our sun could radiate in 10 million years. The source of a quasar's power is still
forms the code which describes the properties and motion of a star.
Burn it in oxygen to form sulfur dioxide, which or oxygen to form sulfur trioxide. The sulfur trioxide then passes over into our reactor system
to blaze the deepest corners of known space.
amount of dry scrap powder is generated from general cleanup around.
Some of the matter is converted into an enormous amount of energy. Radiating outward as a gas, it convects like a boiling liquid beneath the surface. The turbulent, bubbling motion is visible in the granular cells of the photosphere.
Tiny sharp hook.
Sunspots,
Just the
regions of
equipment you need.
intense magnetic fields appear
But
on the
the hooks are
surface.
just half the story. Several days
Disappear in
earlier,
a few
the
hours.
caterpillar had the foresight to spin this
Or grow
strong,
and
almost
persist for
invisible
months
web of
in a
silk on the
mysterious
branch.
11-year cycle.
And it is this web that holds the hooks of the cremaster secure. Can you spot the
The
chrysalis
sun
in this
rotates
picture?
once in 27 days. Because its equatorial regions
Pretty well
rotate
hidden,
faster
wasn't
than the polar caps,
This
the
blending of
shearing
the
action
colors
in the
into
gas
background
contorts
is
the
no
magnetic
accident.
field into tangled
It is deliberate
structures
camouflage.
which give rise to the sun's eruptive action.
Caterpillars forming these chrysalids were all of the same type.
Quantity of celestial bodies is almost beyond comprehension. (186,000 miles per second). We quickly pass the orbits of Mercury, Venus, and span the 93 million miles that separate the Earth from the Sun in just 8 minutes 19 seconds. We continue on, passing Mars, then the gas giant planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. Finally, after 5 hours and 31 minutes, we race past Pluto and its companion moon. Our journey has taken us more than 3.5 billion miles to the outer limits of our solar system.
You will be able to choose packs that you know are recyclable.
Hey, that's me.
Hey, Dave, that's what I've been trying to tell you. You're part of the cycle.
Soon, after the cultures are mixed, the animals assemble into small groups. Others then join these groups until sometimes 50 or more are clumped together. After a time, however, these groups break up into pairs according to a definite and predictable pattern. In most forms of life, there are but two sexes. Paramecia, however, are multisexual.
Red spot, an immense cyclonic storm that has raged for hundreds of years and continues unabated.
Search for simplicity. The scientist has discovered an overwhelming complexity.
Radiating more energy than it receives from the sun, encircled by 14 moons, Jupiter is like a miniature solar system.
No. A complex world just as full of wonders as the whirling galaxies of distant space.
The next largest of the gas planets is Saturn. Girded
Well,
by
these are
rings
strange
which, as
and
we
wonderful
approach them,
things.
resolve into countless particles of frozen debris and ice, each a tiny moon, orbiting.
Process around 2,000 tons a month of loose cardboard, and we take the paper in and remove the plastics.
The large Virgo cluster, containing more than 2,000 galaxies. And so it goes. As our travels continue to take us deeper into the cosmos,
100 billion universes and then hurl them
we
into
pass
space,
cluster
filled
after
with all the
galactic
minute
cluster,
miracles of life
each
is
a building
wonderful
block of a far greater framework.
relationship to him. Is this wonderful God a total stranger?
1 billion years pass.
If so, then your life is
5 billion. Finally, after 10 billion years, we decelerate and pause to observe
every adventure.
the universe's large-scale structure. Countless billions of galaxies are now seen to comprise chains, masses, and thread-like structures that stretch across the cosmos, separated by enormous regions.
Made luminous by the radiation of stars within or near them, or darkly obscuring the light of whatever lies behind them. Here, new stars are being born. One of a local group of about 20 galaxies. And strewn through the vast reaches of space are more than 10 billion galaxies, grouped in clusters.
What about the lakes? Oh, wait a minute.
And when you've done the lakes, what?
Array, exploding, ejecting gaseous matter, or interacting with other galaxies. Star-like objects, emitting as much energy every 10 million years. They appear to be among the most remote objects in space.
In your whole life.
And we are incredibly small, so that relatively speaking, our place in the universe is totally insignificant.
Position of two kinds of pressure.
This was illustrated
One
by
is the
Voyager
pressure created by the
spacecraft several years
energy
ago.
in the core of the star, pushing the surface outward.
Miles from Earth, Voyager 1 looked back and showed us
The
our
other is the
planet in a way
crushing
we
force
had
of
never seen
gravity
it
pulling the
before.
star's surface inward. When these are balanced,
It
a
was
star
just
becomes
tiny
stable
dot
and shines
engulfed by a
steadily.
single ray of sunlight. And when you look at
As
the picture today, it's not hard to understand how the Old Testament writer David must have felt when he asked God, How could man possibly be important to you?
It is a question both timeless and quite logical. Universe, any perceptions of personal importance we may hold are easily overwhelmed.
In the final stage of its evolution, it is the mass of a star.
Yet
that
God did
determines
not
its
create
fate.
on this awesome scale to frighten or intimidate us with his power. Instead, each night he uses the sheer magnitude of the cosmos to help reveal the significance
Then it will expand to
human life.
As it expands, it will engulf the inner planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, and create a nebula extending past the outer planets.
Anywhere else that any other part of nature specifically does that as clearly as it
After
happens
millions
to.
of years, its reserves of nuclear fuel will be
It's interesting to note
exhausted,
that by
its outer
definition,
layers will have
the word
dissipated,
cosmos
and
means
only a
an
white
object
dwarf
of
star
superb
remains,
craftsmanship,
no larger
or
than
a
the Earth.
system of order and harmony. God has revealed his creative juices, if you will, in the way that wonder. And it's there.
Triggers a spectacular detonation. A supernova explosion. At the center of the explosion, a residue of the star is crushed by gravity to a neutron core, only a few miles across, but so dense that 10 billion tons of its matter would fill only a tablespoon. It spins rapidly, generating radio signals.
As we look deeper and deeper into space, the size, splendor, and design we see throughout the universe tells us very clearly that there must be a
An
creator.
even stranger end is predicted for very massive stars. According to the laws of gravity as presently understood, nothing can stop its collapse. The star disappears from our universe, leaving a black hole in space. Its presence can be deduced only by its influence on a visible companion star, distorted out of shape by the black hole's gravitational attraction. Gas,
life, and life perpetuating the earth. A full symbolic cycle.
What our responsibilities are. Science has no answers for you there. You have to leave the realm of science and go into some other realm. Now we're talking about the spiritual realm. And because there's no way that our finite minds could ever accurately discern the true nature of an infinite God. To do that, we needed something beyond our own intellect or experience. So God revealed himself to us in the form of his word, the Bible.
Galaxy. Stars will explode, and the sky will again be ablaze with light. Finally, all matter will be engulfed in a fireball like that from which it emerged.
Eternal life.
Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened.
Cause damage to American forests, lakes, or crop. It is now
Molecules which
oil spill will be in excess of $1 billion.
Terrific.
The city's air quality index reached 55 today. This level is rated as poor air quality Those people with
in the
respiratory
chill
conditions
vacuum of
will be
interstellar
affected.
space, there is reason to believe that among the countless galaxies,
Industry's response to the environment. In the spotlight this week, the detergent industry. Is it
for the evolution of intelligent life.
It has been nearly 20 years since Lever Brothers voluntarily led the industry.
And distance may be insurmountable.
In their sunlight line.
The spacecraft Pioneer, now speeding toward the outer...
Yes, I'm talking to you, Dave. So that's how you're going to deal with it, is it?
What could be
Dave, you can't just turn the problem off.
Newport menthol cigarettes. Newport refreshes while you smoke because only Newport has a fine white filter, menthol and mint, and a blend of great tasting tobaccos. Clean, cool pleasure you won't find in any other cigarette. Newport smokes fresher.
Must remain an invention of science fiction.
Want to give up strong tasting?
Kent.
Want to give up harsh tasting cigarettes?
Treat your taste kindly with Kent.
Want to give up rough?
Everything my industry report had to say.
Well, I know those guys
Planet
are the
of some
ones
distant
polluting,
star.
not me. I mean, the damage I do is nothing compared to what...
Take a look at this.
Bound or lifted to the far side of the moon, may hear faint but unmistakably meaningful sounds amidst the din of cosmic radio chatter. That moment will signal a change in the human condition that we cannot foresee or imagine.
Check out the way they keep the cycle going while making powdered laundry detergent.
Here we're in the control room of our sulfonation plant. This is where we take sulfur, we burn it in oxygen to form sulfur trioxide. The sulfur trioxide then...
Newport filter cigarettes. Newport smokes fresher than any other menthol cigarette.
Newport filter cigarettes.
More refreshing to begin with, more refreshing all the way.
People will notice what you're smoking because it's York, the first imperial size cigarette. This is the cigarette that's longer than king size, longer than any other leading cigarette. So York travels the smoke farther to improve smoking taste. York has no filter. York uses its new length instead of a filter to make rich tobaccos taste mild. So you get a new kind of mild taste with a special smoothness as the rich tobacco.
spray tar itself. This is accomplished by use of hot water. This wash water is collected and held in storage tanks from where it is redirected back to the slurry making system.
Take a walk at the beach. How can you add to it? With a menthol cigarette.
Newport filter cigarettes.
The most refreshing smoke of all.
Newport menthol cigarettes.
Only Newport has a fine white filter, menthol and mint, and a blend of great.
In this facility, we have the ability to rework any off-quality, off-spec materials. We conserve chemicals.
The filter and good taste. Kent satisfies best. Kent satisfies.
portion, the fatty acid. Where trace amounts of chemicals are recovered. In this way, an intelligently designed manufacturing process recovers and reuses chemicals wherever possible, is good for the environment, and it lowers manufacturing costs. This is part of the detergent manufacturing process, which makes automatic dishwashing powders for your automatic dishwasher. In this process, we take fine particles and granulate them into larger particles like instant coffee granules so the product is not dusty.
Coolness of menthol, a refresh.
It is then fed along down through the extruder to the opposite end, where it is heated, and under pressure and temperature it is extruded into a tube of material. This tube of material is then dropped into a set of molds. The molds then have air that is pumped into them to produce the bottle. During that process, we also have the tops and the bottoms of the bottle that have to be removed. They are cut off by knives, and then they are reground into smaller pieces of material. That material then is fed directly back into the process again.
On the base of this bottle, we have a plastic recycling logo. This logo is used to identify
Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Recycling is not just moving garbage from one place to another, Dave.
The polyethylene, but it's a mixture of all plastic. Provide the feedstock for our process. So we work very well with packages that are now using plastic as a packaging material, and we'll make it into finished products like this bin.
Another mirror projects a light beam to a spectroscope, an instrument which splits the light into its component colors, a visible spectrum. The dark lines that cut across the spectrum band are produced by the radiation from the sun's interior shining through its atmosphere. Each line is the signature of a chemical element such as sodium, iron, calcium. It is this array of lines that forms the code which describes the properties and motion of a star. By narrowing the view of the sun to a single line
and mixed water,
each level of the solar atmosphere can be photographed.
Stock, mush, if you want to call it, is channeled up to the machine where we process.
And God's Word, brought together to bridge the gap between science and faith. Yours only through
Photosphere. Above it, the chromosphere, a region of flaming elements.
And paper can be paper again.
Corona is now revealed to be a region of dramatic large-scale changes and unexpected turbulence.
Yep, guess you're right.
Degrees.
Garbage piled up, fewer natural resources.
Deep beneath the sun's atmospheric shell is the core, a violent nuclear furnace. Here, hydrogen is fused into helium, and in the process, some of the matter is converted into an enormous amount of energy.
Your generation is inheriting quite a handful to deal with, I hate to say it.
Hold it, wait a minute.
And when you've done the lakes, what are you going to do about air pollution?
Hey, that's a job for the government, man.
Woohoo! You are the government, man.
Hey, you're using scare
Granular
tactics
cell.
now.
Are they working?
Yes. No.
Sunspots, regions of intense magnetic fields, appear on the surface, disappear in a few hours, or grow and persist for months in a mysterious 11-year cycle. The sun rotates once in 27 days. Because its equatorial regions rotate faster than the polar caps, the shearing action in the gas contorts the magnetic field into tangled structures which give rise to the sun's eruptive action. Shaped by these magnetic fields are the spectacular prominences, titanic streamers of gas
Throughout the centuries, we have turned our eyes to the heavens in an effort to fathom their complexity, meaning, and design. It is a timeless quest for discovery, and today it is enhanced by the most sophisticated instruments. Amazing tools of astronomy that draw the deepest regions of space into clearer focus than at any time in
to the sun's interior,
unfolding before our eyes,
and may be a source of the solar wind that blows outward to the farthest planets. On Earth, effects of these solar events are visible. Generate heat and light from nearest the sun and obscured by its intense glare is Mercury, a crater much like temperatures rise to 800 degrees, but no clouds or atmosphere protect its ancient surface from the searing heat.
Begins.
Moving outward from Mercury,
Perpetuating life, and life perpetuating the earth. A full symbolic cycle, until human technology completely destroys the earth.
Boring.
Pollution and
That 9 million Canadians are drinking water which could lead their children to brain damage.
Yeah, sure.
600 to 800 trucks come here. The noise.
Come on.
beyond Venus, 93 million miles from the sun, is Earth.
Estimated that the cost of cleaning up the Alaska oil spill will be in excess of $1 billion.
Continents and nourish life. Its satellites
will be affected.
He shoots, he scores. Waterless.
Environment Watch.
This bombarded it since the time of its formation. Now bears the imprints of our astronauts.
It has been nearly 20 years since Lever Brothers voluntarily led the industry by reducing the phosphate level in their Sunlight laundry detergent.
The probe of the planet Mars has discovered a dynamic and evolving planet.
We really understand them. Oftentimes, I'm not convinced we really do.
Many times larger than the largest volcano on Earth.
Yes, you. You broke the cycle. You turned something into garbage.
A vast and deep canyon, extending for 2,500
dump
miles,
site to take up space that we can't afford
and
anymore.
dry, river-like channels that may have been
Take a natural
carved by running
resource and you
water.
turn it into something useful to you, and then you turn it into garbage. Or worse yet, you turn it into something that eats away at our environment. What? That's a
Beyond
dead
the
end,
orbit
David,
of Mars
not a cycle.
is the belt of
Cannot keep
asteroids,
taking without giving
craggy
anything
chunks
back.
of rock
I'm
and
into the
metal.
environment.
Sure you
Some
are,
as small
just like
as
everybody
boulders.
else. So you
Others-
probably already knew everything my industry reported.
About 500 million miles from the to the giant gas planets, colossus of the solar system.
Alpha Centauri would require a journey of a little over 4 years.
Problem. Not only by ensuring that the end product is less polluting, but also by manufacturing processes to recover
which life awakened on Earth millions of years ago.
Now, despite the enormous distances involved, technology has opened a spectacular window to the universe. And as we continually venture out, sometimes millions of light years from the Earth, we not only see many of creation's greatest wonders, we also have the chance to come face to face with the full magnitude of God's power. And it's an awesome sight.
System actually measures about 1/1000th of a single light year in diameter, and is in reality only a pinpoint on
Arrive at the outermost planet in the solar system, Pluto.
a billion stars.
Miles away, there's only a brilliant light in the night sky.
Really is. Imagine the planets
Solar system to the nearest star would require a journey of more than 5. Yet our sun is only one.
The process equipment must be clean, that is, the slurry vessels and the spray tower itself. This is accomplished by use of hot water. This wash water is
The nebulae, made luminous by the radiation of stars within or near them, or darkly obscuring the light of whatever lies behind them. Here, new stars are being born. About a half-century ago, our galaxy was thought to be alone in the universe. And strewn through the vast reaches of space are more than 10 billion galaxies, grouped in clusters sensitive instruments can reach. Little is known about the evolution of galaxies. Others elliptical, and still others galactic core and its role in the galaxy's evolution and structure. Exploding, ejecting gaseous matter, or interacting. Even more
magnificent regions called nebulae move among the stars,
emitting as much energy a million years.
These islands of hydrogen gas and dust, many of them thousands of times larger than our entire solar system, are illuminated by starlight, creating the most vibrant Some of these nebulae, including the breathtaking Eagle, may possibly be stellar nurseries, locations where
there is the crushing force of gravity pulling the star's surface inward. When these are balanced, a star becomes stable and shines steadily.
Crab nebula,
as hydrogen fuel is depleted,
though rarely observed, has captivated astronomers for centuries.
vast amounts of energy are released and lift the outer zones against the force of gravity.
In July of 1054
The star
AD,
is now
Chinese astronomers first viewed and
fatty acid portion is continuously recycled back to the reactor. The water portion is sent to another separator.
They called it a guest star, and for 23 days it blazed as the brightest object in the heavens, except for the sun.
Remains stable for approximately 10 billion years. Then it will expand.
Observers were witnesses to the violent death of a star more than 6,500 light years away.
As it extending past the outer planets. After millions of years, its reserves of nuclear fuel will be exhausted. Its outer layers will have dissipated, and only a white dwarf star remains, no larger than the Earth. Slowly cooling to zero temperature, it will end its life as a When a star more massive than the sun reaches the red giant stage, the collapse of its core...
The garbage, David, goes full cycle to be recycled.
This is a schematic of the process used to produce
a supernova explosion. At the center of the explosion, a residue of the star is crushed by gravity to a neutron core, only a few miles across, but so dense
this tube material is
only a tablespoon. Pulse. A star is known as a pulsar. An even stranger end is predicted for very massive stars. According to the laws of gravity as presently understood, nothing can stop its collapse. The star disappears from our universe, leaving a black hole in space. Its presence can be deduced only by its influence on a visible...
Hey, Dave, that's what I've been trying to tell you. You're part of the cycle.
The black hole. And in the dizzying plunge, it emits X-rays which can be detected in space.
Recycling is not just moving garbage from one place to another, David.
Cosmic abyss.
Making it a raw material.
Superwood is a mixture of all plastics.
This bizarre object are totally unknown to us. The evolving universe itself must come to an end. But if gravity halts the expansion, the universe will fall back.
Times the size of the sun finally burns out its fuel supply and collapse on itself, forming a black hole. The gravitational pull of this galactic whirlpool is so strong that everything around it, including light itself, is trapped inside. The shape of a star is distorted and stretched, relentlessly consumed by the inescapable forces of a neighboring black hole.
Living and inert, are formed from the elements forged in some distant and unknown star.
of the Milky Way may contain a black hole with a mass
On Earth,
gravitational pull
atoms joined
millions
together
of
in
times
definite
greater
numbers and
than our own
patterns
sun.
compose the organic molecules which form living cells. Since the discovery of complex
Less than a
molecules in
century
the chill
ago,
vacuum
it
of
was
interstellar
commonly believed
space,
that the Milky Way
there is
was,
reason
in
to
and of
believe
itself, the
that among
entire
the
universe.
countless
Nothing was thought to exist beyond its boundaries.
favorable for the evolution of intelligent life. Insurmountable barriers.
High above, discovery was made that would dramatically alter the world's perception of the cosmos.
Yep, guess you're right.
One small step, less garbage piled up.
Edwin Hubble conclusively determined that distant
Craft, traveling 2,500 times faster than Pioneer.
many as large or larger than our own. For the first time in history, a correct conceptual view of the universe was in sight.
What can we do?
Edwin Hubble had opened a window to a cosmos inconceivably large and filled with countless galaxies, richly diverse in their sizes and shapes. Elegant spirals, similar to the Milky Way, were discovered throughout the heavens.
No rest and no ending. He must go on, conquest beyond conquest. And when he has conquered all the deeps of space and all the mysteries of time, still he will be beginning.
While smaller, irregular galaxies take on a variety of eccentric forms. About 2% of all known galaxies are classified as irregular. Many of them are satellites of more massive spirals and ellipticals. Once thought to be evenly distributed throughout the universe, we now realize that structure of the entire universe may well reside in these galactic clusters. And as astronomers continue to survey and map every corner of the cosmos, a remarkable tool of observation revolutionizes the Space Telescope. Named in honor of the renowned astronomer, the Hubble telescope captured the attention of the world, during its spectacular repair mission in December of
The
1993.
index reached 55 today. This level is...
Tally-ho on Hubble there, Houston. Houston, Endeavour has a firm handshake with Mr. Hubble's telescope.
The study of the universe spans almost inconceivable extremes of size and distance and time. From the vast island of stars we call a galaxy,
Since then, the orbiting telescope has more than fulfilled
to the tiny atom and the particles that comprise it. For only billionths of a second. Just Bill. His great telekinetic eye has the light-gathering power of 1 million human eyes.
Life begins and ends and begins again. Nature.
The superb clarity and detail of the Hubble photographs have already established the telescope as one of the most significant astronomical tools of all time, reshaping our view of virtually every aspect.
It detects not objects, but the radio regions associated with them, and at distances far beyond the range of the largest optical telescope.
The galaxy, 56 million light
But the
years from
radio-
the Earth, are enabling
Visible light that pass through the Earth's atmosphere to these ground-based telescopes are only part of a broad
the true size of the universe.
instruments are lifted above this murky layer. Airborne by rockets, by balloons, in unmanned astronomical observatories, in manned laboratories, and in spacecraft, planets. Instruments probe the near and distant environments of space and open new windows on the universe.
Dave, you can't just turn the problem off. Yes, you broke the cycle. You turned something into garbage when it could have been recycled. That can you just throw it is headed for a dump site to take up space. Garbage, or worse yet, you turn it into something that eats away at our environment.
What?
That's a
Near the handle, the Hubble generated one. At least 1,500 galaxies, many only 1/4 billionth as bright as the dimmest light the human eye can see, were revealed in a single breathtaking panorama.
Light. Then the
Within a
radiation
pinpoint
cooled.
of sky, the size of the
And
area
after
blocked
hundreds
by
of
a
millions of
grain
years,
sand
great
held at
clouds
arm's
of
length.
hydrogen gas
The
began
scope of
contracting,
galactic diversity
and in time
were showcased
evolved
as
into
never
the
before.
galaxies we now observe. Inside these galactic whirlpools, smaller fields of gravity condense hydrogen into stars.
At the very limits of the known universe,
Stars
the
are
Hubble
inconceivably
telescope
hot.
has photographed small,
So hot, they sustain thermonuclear
that release
reactions
incredible amounts of
that transform hydrogen into heavier elements. Sometimes their hydrogen fuel burns so fast, they flare out in violent explosions, hurling new elements across space. Like a great wind, the radiant energy
unknown, but a popular theory.
out of these clouds evolved new generations of stars.
The quasar's gravitational field is strong enough to attract a neighboring galaxy, and in the
travel in
process,
groups of 2 or more, orbiting around a common center of gravity.
as the galaxies merge, the quasar converts its captured fuel supply into
Comets.
radiation strong
Immense
enough to
clusters
blaze
of
from the
stars
deepest
swing in
corners
and out of the galaxy in vast, eccentric paths.
Together into what we refer to as a slurry, which is kind of like a wet sludge.
Laboratory for the detailed study of a star's structure and energy. The vertical